This report is brought to you by Cerule, makers of a new category of plant-based products scientifically proven to naturally increase the number of adult stem cells in circulation. This offers a variety of benefits to reduce the effects of human aging. I have a nagging tennis injury, a rotator cuff shoulder problem. Surgery is pretty iffy, so I've been a long-time user of glucosamine products. They don't help much, but that has been my only alternative. So I gave it a try. The rep told me that it would usually take several months before any noticeable difference would occur. First week, nothing. Second week, maybe a little better. But then by the third week, all of a sudden I realized it was a lot better. All I can say is Stem Enhance has worked for us, and non-invasively. Yes, I could have paid $5,000 to have a stem cell injection into my shoulder, but it wears off. Why not stimulate the body's natural ability to generate the stem cells itself, which then travel naturally wherever they are needed for a fraction of the cost? One visit to a doctor can cost more than a month's supply of this product. There's a lot of science behind this. I wouldn't be advertising it otherwise. This works. Check out their website at billstill.cerule.com. There's also a 30-day money-back guarantee on a single bottle purchase, so you can try it risk-free.
Good evening. I'm still reporting on the coup. In the beginning of the Trumpet era, back during the 2016 campaign, somehow I already knew that a literal coup was underway against presidential candidate Donald Trump, probably at the direct order of then-President Obama. I can't tell you how I knew because I don't remember. Never mind that I had friends and relatives who worked at NSA, CIA, and DIA. Never mind that my dad turned down a job offer from NSA Director General Samuel Phillips to be his deputy director at NSA. Never mind that in 1973 I was involved in turning back President Nixon's attempted coup. I grew up in the military intelligence community, working for most of my adult life as a contractor associated with the community, and somehow I knew, whether by instinct, intuition, or someone told me they suspected it, or some combination of the above. I just knew it. So it came as small surprise to me that on March 4th, 2017, just 43 days after taking office, President Donald Trump tweeted, "Terrible. Just found out that Obama had my wires tapped in Trump Tower just before victory. Nothing found. This is McCarthyism." Finally, confirmation the coup was on full speed. Little did President Trump realize then that this far exceeded some red-baiting political witch hunt. This was a full-blown coup that had been in execution mode for maybe a year or so before Admiral Rogers had the gumption to step forward and reveal the truth to then-President-elect Trump. Rogers risked it all because he saw that the coup plotters were dead serious, well-funded, and had fixed the flaws that had prevented President Nixon's attempt from succeeding 44 years earlier, namely not having compromised sufficient nodes of the U.S. military's command and control structure in order to allow a coup to succeed. In other words, Obama fixed it. Obama had begun that journey years earlier by gradually weeding out the strong, patriotic generals and admirals in the U.S. military and then appointing either outright leftist-oriented men and women and even trans officers to fill their places. Had Admiral Rogers not warned Trump at that point, Trump could not have avoided hundreds of additional booby traps that lay ahead, and his presidency could not have survived it all. As it was, Trump barely survived the most complex information warfare attack in not just U.S. history, but all of history, barely escaping not one, but two successful impeachment trials in the U.S. House of Representatives and two narrow escapes of conviction in the United States Senate. His election 2020 bid was easily the most corrupted in U.S. history, but to satisfy certain social media censors still on the alert. Although it may not have affected the outcome of the 2020 elections, millions of fake ballots were printed and sent back to untended drop boxes around the nation, the full reality of which still leaves most Americans dumbfounded by its audacity. And then there was the 3 a.m. shutdown of the vote counting process, another interesting tactic that was unprecedented in my lifetime anyway. No, President Trump is the Houdini, the master Hungarian escape artist of the early 1900s of this century of American history. And perhaps, had he not decided to finally concede on January 7, 2021, one day after agent provocateurs hired by the FBI and other federal agencies lured thousands of Trump supporters into the U.S. Capitol building in a loud but mostly nonviolent demonstration that its stage managers have nonsensically and desperately tried to brand as a full-blown insurrection, worse outcomes would have resulted. Even now, Trump faces 3 farcical indictments, which are quickly collapsing of their own incredible illegitimate weight. I'll get into that in the coming days. Yesterday, the latest lawfare gambit is trying to declare that Trump is ineligible to be on the Colorado presidential ballot. This ruse, like so many others the coosters have tried in the past 7 years, probably will not work. But even if it does in a state or two, Trump would probably lose in those states anyway. What election 2024 may well boil down to is a number of non-legit anti-Trump lawfare cases that may end up before the United States Supreme Court to decide. But never doubt, the well-funded and organized Marxist left is here, trying to attack the legitimacy of the conservative Supreme Court, just in case all else fails. And now, with new thousands of anti-Israeli activists, let's put it that way, and outright Marxists surging across our southern border and surging out of university classrooms, a peaceful transition of government may well hinge on America's faith in the fairness of our Supreme Court. Rob Schmidt of Newsmax explored this issue on his 7 p.m. show tonight.
All right, the mission to take down the conservative Supreme Court continues. The Washington Post reports Democrats on the Senate Judiciary Committee are planning to subpoena close friends of Justice Clarence Thomas. Republican megadonors Harlan Crow, Robin Arkley, and conservative judicial activist Leonard Leo. Crow is a close friend of Thomas. Leo runs the Federal Society, a nonprofit that helps conservative lawyers get on the bench. Left-wing rag ProPublica, as you know, started all this, accusing Justice Thomas of illegally accepting lavish gifts from Crow, writing Thomas vacationed on his super yacht around the globe, flies on Crow's Bombardier Global 5000 jet, spent about a week every summer at Crow's private resort in the Adirondacks. Essentially, the line is you're not allowed to have any rich friends if you're Clarence Thomas. Senate Democrats plan to vote to authorize subpoenas on November 9th. Meanwhile, their Justice, Sonia Sotomayor, well, there's no scrutiny at all on her getting away with failing to recuse herself from cases involving her own publisher, a publisher that paid her more than $3 million. Nah, they don't seem to care about that. Also, the story about Sotomayor's staff. She'd give these big speeches at these colleges, and her staff would be basically bullying the university to buy more books. No, you didn't buy enough books. Buy more books. More. And then where does that money go? Right there. Joe DeGeneva is a former U.S. attorney in Washington. Ben Weingarten is a senior contributor at The Federalist. Gentlemen, to you both, thank you so much for coming on. Joe, your thoughts? They're gonna actually do a subpoena inside the Senate.
Oh, I don't think there's any doubt about it. This has been long their goal. When you have Sheldon Whitehouse, who's been beating the drums against Clarence Thomas and against Leonard Leo, this is an effort to delegitimize the court. It's not a legitimate inquiry into ethics. They want to destroy the court. They want to remake it in their own image.
Yep.
Because they've been losing major cases, where for years they had been winning major cases, the Democrats and the leftists now want to take the court down, and they will use any tactic possible. The subpoenas will be issued, and there may very well be a court battle over whether or not they should be honored.
Ben, in August, you wrote an article and you said if Democrats criminalize opposition and cripple the court, democracy is dead. Give us your thoughts on this.
Yeah, this is part of a three-part attack to destroy the law and order in this country and use it to run roughshod over the rights of everyone, but in particular, to destroy their political foes. Joe's right. The first leg of it is delegitimize and undermine the Supreme Court, including, by the way, threaten the lives of justices, which we saw with Dobbs, on top of the leak of the Dobbs opinion. The second leg of it is go after Donald Trump and run all of these frivolous cases, which they know are ultimately going to go in front of the court, but they're banking on the fact that all of the pressure on the court and the delegitimization effort will end up not saving Trump when those frivolous cases get there. And then the third leg is go after all the lawyers and try to destroy and chill any conservative lawyers who would vigorously defend the likes of a Donald Trump or others that will follow him via these efforts like the 65 Project, which aim to dry up conservative legal talent so that there is a total progressive takeover of the entire legal system and the evisceration of our rights.
You know, Joe, it's scary to see what they're capable of. As you stated, for a very long time, the Supreme Court was very left ideologically. I mean, I still think it's amazing what they decided with Roe, and that was 50 years ago. The moment that they're not getting their way, they resort to tactics that you just don't see in a free society.
Well, the one thing about the Democrats and the left is if they don't like the rules, the first thing they want to do is change them.
Yeah.
And that includes the Constitution of the United States. Look at what they want to do. They want to increase the number of justices on the Supreme Court to try and water down the conservatives' influence. This is where you get when you end up with a kind of radicalism that is irrational, which is completely driven by ideology. In this case, Marxist ideology, a hatred for the U.S. Constitution and its structure, and they see the court as in their way, stopping them because it is a bulwark with due process and individual rights. They just don't like this court, and they're going to do everything they can to delegitimize it and destroy it. And the subpoenas are exactly what they want to do, because what they want is a fight. They want to be able to embarrass the friends of the justices, to embarrass them publicly, and to try and dissuade people from believing in the court, from having trust in the court. That's what the Democrats are doing. They want to ruin the reputation of the court so they can say, that's why we're changing it. This is a despicable, disgraceful performance by Dick Durbin and Sheldon Whitehouse. But you know what? The Democrats have no shame. You ask how they do this? They do it because they don't have any shame, and the mainstream media is in their pocket.
I'm still reporting from just outside the Citadel of World Freedom. Good evening.